they earn the most honest living, because when a farmer produces food, they don't think about who will consume it, whether a Muslim will consume, a Sikh will consume, Hindu will consume, whether somebody in a different state speaking a different language will consume.
Absolutely.
They don't think about it. It's for everybody. They don't discriminate in any way. And they look after their crop as their child. They have to feed it. They have to nurture it for 6 months. And then the nature also has to be in their favor for them to get a good crop at the end.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Inspired By, with me, your host, Manjeet Nija. This is the second show of the year, and I've actually got somebody who's supporting a really good cause at the moment, a cause that's actually close to my heart, and a lot of people in my family from the same community as me, from Punjab, but also farmers in the UK as well. So it's not just something that's hitting the Indian farming community. So he's supporting that at the moment, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because we're going to cover that off with him. I just want to get straight to the interview. There's no messing around on this one. So I'm going to introduce him to his name is Gurpreet Dinsa. Gurpreet, how are you?
Hi, Manjeet. Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you, and great to connect with you and to be on this call with you.
Well, thank you for agreeing to join me today. So before we get into what you're currently doing, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
So I was born and brought up in India, come from a farming family. My grandparents, both maternal, paternal, were in agriculture. My uncles, both families were in agriculture. My dad, so they're marginal farmers, so they're small landowners kind of thing. So my dad joined Indian Air Force at a very young age to create a better life for himself and for his family. And so when I was born, he was already serving in Indian Air Force. So I spent my childhood traveling with my parents as in Air Force. Every 3-4 years you move to a new place, so I got the opportunity to travel across India, live in different states, try all different types of food, understand, learn a bit of all those languages, had the opportunity to mingle with people from different backgrounds, different cultures, appreciate the diversity that is there in India. So thankful to my parents that I got to experience that. And then I did my graduation. I'm an IT consultant. So I did my graduation in engineering in computer science, and then came to UK. I've been here since 2004, so 16 years now in UK.
16 years settled, you're running your own business. But what I'm really interested in, I mean, I got to know you through Feel Good Fridays, where I met you. It's an online forum where it came about when COVID started last year, wasn't it, I think?
That's right.
And that's where we met, was through, digitally met. We still haven't met face to face.
So true.
We digitally met and we just connected and we hit it off at Feel Good Friday.
Yeah.
Now I've got to know you and I really admire you. You're such a humble person as well. Could you tell us what it is that you're actually doing and where are you currently right now? So
I live in Hayes in West London, and I am inside a tent at the moment. You hear some background noise. It's because of the wind hitting the tent. It makes a lot of noise when it's windy and rainy. So I've been living in this tent since 31st of December in support of the Indian farmers who are protesting peacefully to get the new farm laws repealed. And I connect with the farmers coming from a farming background, my family being doing that, and also understanding these laws as to how detrimental they are for the marginal farmers. I'm familiar with firsthand with how difficult it is for small scale farmers to make ends meet, and these laws will make it even more worse for them. So I really, feel for them and I want success for them. So here, maybe in a symbolic way, I'm sleeping in a tent with my nephew, and also trying to raise awareness around this issue in UK via various media outlets, wherever we get an opportunity to explain what we are doing and why we are doing.
So why sit in a tent? You know, is there any? I mean, it's cold outside, and it was snowing over the weekend. Why in a tent? Why can't you just do something at home in
Okay,
your house?
I know it's. To be very honest, I didn't plan it to be like this. So myself and my nephew, we were planning to travel to India actually, and be at one of the protest sites, which is a Singhu border. That was the plan, to go there and be there for at least 3 to 4 weeks, do seva there, because the images we were seeing online of the seva that is happening, the unity on display, and the whole atmosphere around that made us just, be there and do something about it instead of just watching on TV. We wanted to participate. It's a historic thing. It's, one of world's biggest peaceful protests, what is happening. And then also the elderly, our elderly, like 80-year-old, 90-year-old people, they are sleeping in the harsh winter there. They don't have much facilities. They don't have much, toilets and all those things. There's so many things which are not there, which we take for granted. And we, on daily basis, we were watching these stories, which moved us. Now, due to the COVID lockdown in UK, we couldn't travel. And then the idea came that, okay, let's try to experience what they're going through by putting up a tent here. So this was not to, create any sort of publicity for us. It was just, we wanted to experience it, how things are, or what they're going through. And also for us, because it's very easy to go back to your normal routine after watching a news segment, and then you get busy with your life. But by doing this, we stay connected with the cause every day, every moment kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, trying to raise awareness around it. So this helps us stay grounded, stay connected, and also create awareness.
Oh, hats off to you for doing it. I'm not sure if I would be able to do it. I have family like yourself in India, in Punjab. And, my cousins are there. They're going to the protests and so on, protesting peacefully, my cousins and their children, and being labelled as terrorists and all sorts of things. And they send me, clips, video clips and so on that's going on out there. And it's horrendous. But before we go into that, for anybody who doesn't know why all these protests are going on, why we're feeling it so much, can you just go over the farm laws and what it actually means to the farmer?
Yeah. So last year, Indian government came up with 3 new laws, actually 2 new laws, and third one is an amendment to an existing law. And these were meant, as per what government is saying, that these will transform the lives of farmers and make them get better prices for their crops and all those things, what they have been advertising. In reality, when you look at it, so I followed it from the very beginning. These laws were, is it okay for me to explain from beginning? Because I think it's very important to understand the context in terms of how these laws came into picture and how they were brought in and, made acts kind of things. It's very
absolutely. Please do. Then we're getting more information. We're really, really understanding what's going on there. So please do.
All right. Thank you so much, Manjeet. I appreciate that. So these laws basically, so in India, there is the parliament has the power that if there is a national emergency and the parliament is not in session, then the government can bring in some ordinances to pass some laws, where then it doesn't need to go through the formality of being debated in the parliament and all those things. The government brings a law and president signs it and it becomes a law kind of thing. And then within 6 months of that, government has to then take it to parliament and get it passed, and then becomes an act. So these laws which impact, so India is an agrarian country. 65% of population depends on agriculture, which is...
That's a huge amount.
That's a huge amount. That's like 0.7 billion people. Think about it. So that population depends on that. And most of that, 85% of that is small land farmers. So government brought these laws saying these will help the farmers, but they brought these laws without consulting the farmers, and they brought these laws during the COVID lockdown when everybody was shut in their homes. They couldn't do anything, and these were brought in as ordinances. So normally ordinances for emergency, when there is a national emergency. So to transform agriculture, if it was such an emergency, I don't see why it will be an emergency like that. These impacts such a huge population. They should have been brought in a more formal way, but that's how government did it. So intentions were a bit, I was a bit skeptical just seeing that these were brought in as ordinances. And then In September, the parliament session was on after the lockdowns, and then these laws were taken to both the houses. There was a debate. Then again, it was not clear whether there is majority that, all the, so you need majority to get these passed in the parliament houses, but there was not a clear majority. And what happened was the parliament, the chairperson agreed to do a voice vote. So these laws were passed by voice vote. So voice vote is only done when there is clear majority, like 90% of people are saying yes kind of thing. Then you do voice vote as a formality, because why do paper vote? Why waste time kind of thing? But there was no clear majority. Still there was voice vote. This footage is available on YouTube on the government website. So you know how we have Parliament TV here? In India, we have Rajya Sabha TV and Lok Sabha TV. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. You can see it for yourself that clearly there was no majority. It was, okay, who is in agreement, say yay, who is against it, say no. And there was a lot of noise. It was not clear whether this majority, but still it was said, oh, yes, we have majority, and it was passed. And on 27th of September, these became laws. I printed copies of these from online, read it myself. Now, these laws are, as I said, government is saying these will transform the lives of farmers, but these laws are more towards trade, actually. They're not for farmers. So saying that these are for farmers, but then have everything in there for traders doesn't make sense at all again. Farmers' problems are that they don't get the right price for their crops. So there is no mention of that in there. Farmers' problems are that they sometimes get cheated kind of thing. There is no mention of that. The government has taken the option where the farmer can take the other party to court. So they don't have that right as per these new laws. So if somebody...
So basically, let's say you're the farmer, I'm going to buy wheat or whatever you produce from you. Let's say I, for whatever reason, have given you not a fair price. Okay, you can't then take me to court.
Yeah, so
I can basically do what I like, and you have no power whatsoever.
Think about it. Exactly. So the maximum you can do is you can take them to SDM, which is subdivisional magistrate, but you can't take them into the actual courts and file a case against them. So previously, there is something called as mandi system, which exists in India, especially in Punjab and Haryana. It's called APMC mandis. So that is why majority of the farmers that are protesting, you will see are from Punjab and Haryana, because the mandi system is very strong there. And that is what is helping farmers stay afloat kind of thing. Because
so what is a mandi system for people who don't know?
Yeah, so APMC mandi in 1965, basically before that, after independence, the whole system was not very regulated. So there was private buyers who will buy the crops from the farmers. Now, the farmers needed money to first, buy the seeds and fertilizers and all those things. So they used to borrow money from these people, money lenders. And then obviously they will have to pay interest on it. So by the time it came to sell the crop, these people, because they already owed money to the lenders will take the money at cheaper rates. So the farmer always stayed under debt, basically. So it was not a very balanced system. It was totally against the farmer, especially again the small landowners. And the government decided to then bring in this mandi system, APMC Mandi Act, I think in somewhere in 1965. I don't remember the exact date. And in that, basically, APMC Mandi is a regulated space where somebody who has to purchase crops from farmers needs to register first. So you can't randomly, anybody can go and buy. You have to be registered with the mandi. And then there is certain process that happens there where the farmer takes the crop, and there's a person who will deal with the whole thing of cleaning the crop, packaging it, and then selling it to government kind of thing. And for that, they take some commission, basically. I think 2.5% is the commission they take, but they facilitate that whole process. And then also the government earns from the mandi, I think 8.5% per whatever, the transaction, which comes as a tax for the state government. So these mandis belong to the state government, and they get some revenue from it, which again is used to maintain those mandis, because, you need labor there, you need space, which need to be, roads and all those things to be maintained around the mandis. So that tax is used for that purpose. And that mandi actually was recommended that there should be a mandi every, I think, 5 square kilometers or something that sort. So if you go by that, India needs around 42,000 mandis, but in actual, there are only 7,000 mandis.
I was going to say there's not that many. I know for a fact there's not that many.
Yeah. So So Punjab and Haryana have really strong mandi system. So what happens in mandi is so there is a concept of MSP, minimum selling price, which government decides for 22 of the crops. They give them MSP, and out of which only wheat and paddy, for which the MSP actually is kind of guaranteed. So if farmers go to the mandis and if there is any surplus left, government buys the crop at the MSP kind of MSP price. So that is because the mandi system exists. Now there are states where this mandi system doesn't exist. So it's like Bihar. So in 2006 they abolished this mandi system. Now there the farmers are in worse condition because they're not getting the price as per MSP. So
if before you go any further, kind of like to put it into context of what we do here in the UK, it's like having minimum wage, isn't it?
Correct. So
similar to that. So it's like having a minimum wage. So you're guaranteed whatever. I don't even know what minimum wage is. Let's say £10 an hour. No matter what happens, you're guaranteed that £10 an hour. Yeah. So that's what the MSP would be. MSP
would be something. So there's a formula where I think originally what the government gives at the moment is around 120%. So if the cost is 100%, whatever, £10, you'll get £12 kind of thing, which is not a lot because they already paid interest on the money they borrowed for the seeds. So it's not much profitable, even going by that formula. So there was there was a commission which took place, which actually did the whole survey that what should be the MSP, how should it be calculated. They gave a formula which is 150%. So the formula that Swaminathan Commission gave, and this was led by the guy who actually led the whole green revolution in India. He knew the whole agriculture system very well, Swaminathan. And his recommendation was that it should be 150%, but which was never implemented. So the whole system, even the existing system, which at 120%, is only for wheat and paddy. So in Punjab and Haryana, because they have the mandis, they get that. But with the new laws, what government is saying, that there will be a parallel system. So in
what system? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
So a parallel system.
Parallel system.
Yes. Yeah. So in that parallel system, anybody who's a citizen of India who has a PAN card. So PAN card is like our NI number.
Yeah.
So anybody who has a PAN card can go and buy crops from farmer from anywhere in India. That is, it's not regulated at all. It's new system. It allows anybody to go and buy from anywhere. They don't have to pay any tax to the state government. So the 8.5%, they don't pay that. So state government will lose that revenue. The farmers, obviously, initially, the way it will work is, so if you try to understand the new system, these new buyers, because they are not paying the tax to the government, they can offer slightly more price than the APMC mandi to the farmers. And by doing that, they will lure the farmers to themselves. And for 2-3 years, they will do that. The mandis will be empty. They are not making any money, so they won't be able to maintain those. Then those mandis will go away. That's when these private buyers will start exploiting the farmers. Because in the laws, there is no guarantee of MSP. There is no talk about the pricing, how much pricing will be. The government says they will get better price, but the question is better to what? Exactly. So how do you say it is better? And how can you guarantee it will be a better price? Exactly. If government can't guarantee in the controlled environment that they get the right price, how can they guarantee they will get the right price in a totally unregulated market? So that is one of the biggest problems regarding the mandi system and the MSP. Yeah. And the other, so this act is called Mandi Act in short. It's a really long name. I don't remember the whole name. I think they made it intentionally so that nobody knows what all names are. Yeah. But the second law is about contract farming. So there it says that the private entities can enter in agreement with the farmers, and they can say, okay, you enter into agreement to say for potatoes. So see that on the face of it, it sounds okay. I can deal with whoever I want to deal with. On the face of it, on the contract farming, yes. So it's all good. I think if it anything, if you want to bring changes, first you have to prepare the ground for it. Yes. So the marginal farmers, they are not very well educated. They are not literate. They don't understand all these things, contracts and everything. So anything could be written in there. A lot of people have already burnt their hands. There are plenty of examples who have tried doing contract farming, but then in the end, the private entity said, "Oh, your crop is not up to the mark, so we're not going to buy it." And these laws don't allow you to take them to court. The farmer is, what will the farmer do? They have already spent 6 months. They have spent money on it, and they are at the mercy of the weather and all those things as well. They have to be lucky that they get a good crop in the end.
I suppose if you're one of like the really big farmers, it's not going to make that much of a difference to you. But it's the ones with the little bits of land who are literally hand to mouth. And there's a lot of those. I know that. I've seen it myself. There's a lot of farmers in India who have maybe 1 acre or 2 acres, if that, some of them.
Yeah, so 85% of the agricultural land is owned by the small landowners, and they produce around 52 to 65% of the whole crop production.
That's a huge amount.
So they contribute a lot, and they add the diversity of the crops as well. So they play a very important role. And understanding that they're not in a good position. And if you want to help them, the law should be helping the farmers, not the traders. Okay, if you want to make laws for traders, do that. But at least in there, protect the rights of farmers or give them the protection, especially from the price perspective, because that's the weakest part of the whole system at the moment as well, where the farmers don't know what price they will. So farmers, if you look at it, the farmer, when they go buy seeds, when they go buy fertilizers, they buy it at retail prices. So they're paying all the taxes, they're paying everything on that when they buy it. When they are selling it, again, they are not the ones who are controlling the price. They can't decide the price. The buyer is deciding the price. So both places, they are not deciding the price, and they are losing money at both ends.
So they're stuck in no man's land then, basically.
So exactly. So how can somebody explain that we have made laws for farmers? Another weird thing actually is, if you look at it, in Indian Constitution, there are 3 lists. So laws are divided into 3 categories. So one is the laws which are regulated by the central government. So there's one list. And the second list of articles is the articles which belong to the state governments. They control those laws. They make those laws. And there's the third one, which is a joint list. In there, both central government and state governments can make laws. But if there's a conflict, then the law made by the center stands. It takes precedence. Now, agriculture comes under the state list, state article list. So any laws related to agriculture should be made by only the state governments, because there is so much diversity. Every state, the way agriculture happens, the cost of production and all those things are so different that you can't really set one price for the whole of country. It's very difficult. So I think it makes sense to have that at state level. But what the new laws have done is the central government has made laws which impact the whole of Indian agrarian society. And they have said, we are making these laws, they're classified under trade. So they are calling these as laws for agriculture and farmers. But because they wanted to make these laws so desperately, they classified these under trade. That's why the naming also uses those sort of words, so that legally they can pass those laws and they can control it so that states can't challenge it. So again, that's a bit shady as well. So if you're really making laws for agriculture and farmers, why will you not talk about the farmers? Why will you not address the real issues that farmers face?
Because they've not really given the farmers, in my opinion, and from reports I've got from back home, and India is home, it always will be, you know, because that's where my family's from, my grandfather, my grandmother, my great grandpa, all the way back. It's all from Punjab. So, the stories and the reports that I've had come back is that nobody's really talking to them. Nobody wants to understand things from their perspective. They're being told this is what's going to happen, whether you like it or not. So you might as well just accept it. And if you don't accept it, then the consequences, you brought them on yourself.
Exactly. So again, the political system in India works based on divide and rule. So we have learned this from the Britishers. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what the reality is. That they either divide them based on religion or on the castes, or sometimes even on social status as well. So the leaders divide them and they rule them. They use these, they are like, look at them as vote banks. That's it. If you look at the whole history since independence, the one community in India which has become richer, clearly richer, whether they are capable or not, is the politicians.
Yes.
All politicians, irrespective of their education, irrespective of their criminal backgrounds, irrespective of whether they know anything about the portfolio they're running, they have all become richer. Okay. The farmers who are working hard, they are I think they earn the most honest living, because when a farmer produces food, they don't think about who will consume it, whether a Muslim will consume, a Sikh will consume, Hindu will consume, whether somebody in a different state speaking a different language will consume.
Absolutely.
They don't think about it. It's for everybody. They don't discriminate in any way. And they look after their crop as their child. They have to feed it. They have to nurture it for 6 months. And then the nature also has to be in their favor for them to get a good crop at the end. And still what happens is, if the crop is not good, then the farmer loses anyway. But if they get a bumper crop, then there is a surplus, then they get lower price.
So they again,
so they lose.
They lose that either way. They're in no man's land.
Exactly.
Again. But how does what's happening there in India impact the rest of the world? Or specifically, how does it impact us in the UK?
I think the farmers, basically, as I said, touched upon the point that when farmer produces food, it's not targeted towards citizens, only citizens of India. There's exports that happen. And then in that way, everybody consumes food. We all eat. So it's linked. It's the most essential thing for human beings is food, isn't it? Obviously, we need the air and sleep and all those things. But after that, it's the next most important thing is food. We need to consume. All of us consume. Might be different types of food, but we do eat. All of us eat. So farmer is somebody who I think is everybody can relate to. It impacts everybody. And for us, coming from India, having family there who are directly impacted by it, it's essential that we definitely should raise voice. And also, looking at the Western world, actually what India is trying to do is they're saying we are trying to copy the Western world, how the systems are here in UK, USA. But if you look at the whole day stats, I don't remember all the numbers, but I've looked at some of the articles written by the agriculture experts. And when I look at it, it's quite alarming to see the numbers. So what has happened in US is every year, the number of farmers is decreasing. They have a system which again favors the big land farmers. So the small land farmers are selling their lands, going to cities, getting jobs or whatever. But in these countries, there are other employment opportunities. But in India, that farming population, that they are not that well educated that they can get good jobs. Plus, there are not enough jobs. There is plenty of unemployment already. So if these people lose their agriculture, what is the option for them? How are they going to be fed? How are they going to survive? How can they teach their kids? So they will always be a disadvantage, which actually suits the politicians, because if they are at their mercy, then they can give them some money, throw some money at them and buy the votes. They don't want them to be strong. They want majority of the population to be dependent so that they can control them. And it favors them. That works for them. That's why I think nobody's really interested in helping that people, the lower class people, basically, or low income people. Nobody is looking after them because it suits
like the Dalites and so on. That, I mean, going back to what you said a little bit earlier about divide and rule, right? Divide and conquer. I just want to clarify, obviously, yes, the British were in India, and there was a lot that happened during that time. But prior to the British arriving, we still had that caste system going on, and we still had not huge amounts of issues between the different castes. I don't believe in the caste system anyway, but in India it still exists to some extent. So it was still there prior to the British arriving, and it's still there to some extent now. So we can't just say it's because of the British, but do you see what I'm trying to say?
No, I totally agree with you. I'm not saying it was that those divides existed. Yes, Britishers knew how to exploit it very well.
Exactly. It's just it was there. Somebody picked up on it.
Our leaders picked up on the same thing. That this is the best way. Look at it; it's working for them. It's working for them.
It was exploited. They saw the chinks and exploited them. So, which anybody would have done if you're trying to take over from. It happens in big organizations over here in the same sort of way. You'll study, see what's going in that organization because you want to take over that organization. You want to purchase it, whatever you want to do. And then as soon as you start to figure out how it works, that's when you go in for it and you kind of like take over before they realize what's actually happened. So same with huge corporate companies, you know, it kind of happens over here in the West.
Yeah.
But going back to the farmers and so on, I mean, the Monday the 26th, Monday 26th was Republic Day in India.
Tuesday
26th was Republic Day in India.
Yeah.
There's so many conflicting reports about what was going on that particular day. There's a lot of fake news that's gone on. There's news that the farmers were beating up the police, that the police were beating up the farmers, electricity was being turned off, tear gas was being, canisters were being shot at people's faces. There's just so much stuff going on. And yet the people who, this is from the Delhi side of things, so people who lived in Delhi, they were welcoming the protesters as if they were like royalty. They were like, there was flower petals being thrown, they had holding up huge signs. And then their own eyewitness reports, it was actually police brutality against the farmers. The farmers didn't really retaliate. I mean, what are your take on that? What have you heard? Because you have more contacts there than I think a lot of us probably do.
Yeah, I was watching the space whole day. Basically, we were, glued to our screens, kind of thing. There is, the national media has all, everybody knows it's biased.
Yeah,
they have only trying to project what the government is trying to project, kind of thing. So they echo their government's voice. And they have been trying to label the farmers as anti-nationals and whatever they can, so that this whole movement could be put aside, or
they want to trying to derail
the whole movement. Exactly. So they have tried their best. They have made all these allegations. The farmers, kudos to them, they've stuck to their peaceful protest against all odds. There were so many challenges for them, and the weather being the least of them, I guess. They had worse challenges. There have been all types of conspiracies and all types of things being tried by the various miscreants and government elements to discredit the whole movement. But on specifically talking about 26th, I think, as you said, there is all types of news coming through that there was riots and there was police brutality, and there was, some of the farmers maybe, damaged some property. The whole Red Fort incident, all those things. I think it's very difficult for us to know the reality, because there was no one media covering the whole thing. It comes in bits and pieces from so many different sources. It's very difficult to know who to trust or not. But if you look at the whole thing, I look at it from the point that the farmers have been protesting peacefully for 60 days. If they wanted unrest, if they wanted to create violence, they had plenty of opportunity. They could have removed those barriers 2 months back. Right? They went through and suffered and sat there for 2 months, if that was their intention. So if you look at that picture, if you think from farmers' perspective, and also if we ask the question, who benefits from all this violence? The farmers benefit or the government benefits? So those are the two questions that I look at, and that's the lens I'm using to view the whole situation. And the narrative is being created against farmers to discredit the movement. But if you look at the majority, there was around 10 lakh people there. Majority have been very peaceful. But then there is, if you, especially young blood, if you instigate them, if you attack them, some people might have retaliated. I have seen pictures of where the actual farmers are trying to protect the police from some of the other people.
I've seen that as well.
There were so many hooligans there who could have been paid off by the government and, to create this unrest as well. Again, it's very difficult to know the complete truth.
Absolutely.
As I said, we have to look from, if the farmers wanted unrest, they could have done this before. So I don't see why they will do it now. The second thing is, who benefits from this unrest? The farmers definitely don't. Then why will they do it? Those are the two questions that I ask, and I think there is a bigger conspiracy, and somebody wanted to create this sort of news, this sort of atmosphere, because the whole country, actually the whole world, was coming in support of the farmers. And
there was an internet blackout as well, wasn't there?
Yeah,
apparently.
we heard that news as well, that there was
Yeah.
internet blackout, and then you saw images of the tires being deflated, the
Yeah.
tractors being damaged, and all those things. That is why will farmers damage their own tractors?
Absolutely.
Somebody has done it. So again, it's I think everybody knows the reality, how the media works, especially the national media works, because they have even labeled a charity like Khalsa Aid as a
I know, that is a joke.
terrorist organization.
Yeah.
One of the big channels in India did a whole 30-minute piece
Yeah.
say that Khalsa is a terrorist organization, and
They face a lot of backlash because of that, though, to be fair.
they did, and it's a slap on their face that the charity got nominated for Nobel Peace Prize.
Exactly. I mean, hello.
Yeah, so I think
I've met Ravi Singh. I've got some. I think you can see them. They're the blue medals, the dark blue ones. I've got 3 medals there from when I've been involved in Khalsa Aid events to raise money, because they don't just distribute funds and food and care for India. They've done it in the UK. They've gone to war-torn countries where governments can't get to, but they can get in. They can to help people.
Yeah. I mean, we have been seeing these pictures for years now, where wherever there is need, even like recently, the truckers got stuck.
Exactly.
Over, and they were there serving pizza, serving food, and all those things.
Yeah.
And it's a humanitarian organization,
Absolutely.
and truly a humanitarian organization, and proud of that. And Indian media tried to discredit that as well, because they were trying to help the farmers. But when they were helping the people in Kerala during the floods and in other parts of India during various other natural calamities, at that time, Khalsa Aid was a humanitarian organization. Government had no problem. Now they are being sent NIA notices. They are being discredited and all those things. There's a campaign being run against them because they are supporting this peaceful farmers' protest.
You see, the farmers' protest is going on. It will continue for however many more days, weeks, months. It needs to continue, and I'm quite certain it will continue. And my heart goes out to everybody who's there, every single person who is fighting for their right to earn a living. And I'm quite passionate about it as well, much like you are, and I can get quite heated and emotional about it as well. Again, because, strong roots back in India. How do you think what you're doing, you're sleeping in a tent. How much time do you spend in the tent? I mean, obviously you need to leave the tent for wash facilities and so on. But what about work?
So work, some of the meetings I do take in the tent as I'm talking to you from my tent. So I have laid an internet cable into the tent. Initially, I didn't have that. But obviously I had to make arrangements for that so that I could spend more time in the tent. So now most of the times I'm in the tent, I do go indoors to take shower and use the facilities. And most of the times I'm in the tent only. We have a trolley times corner in our tent, so
I know
we get all the trolley time papers. As soon as the edition comes out, we print it. It's very small print. It's very difficult to read, but we go through it. And
if you just explain what trolley times is for those people who don't know.
So there have been many achievements of this peaceful protest, and I think one of the main ones has been this trolley times, actually, because it's a very symbolic thing. It may not be a huge paper, but so what happened is, because the national media was trying to discredit the whole movement, they were not covering the real news and reality, what was happening, that people are dying and how they're peacefully protesting and all those things. The farmers decided, who were being called as illiterate, that they don't know what they're talking about. They decided to start their own news magazine. From that front. Started in December. I think 18th of December was the first issue that came out. And from there on, they have been producing an issue. First, it was twice every week. Now I think it's a weekly thing. But it's again a symbolic thing. But if you read it, you will get to see and read the real stories of real people who are there and what they are going through. And it's very moving. It's really moving, very emotional. There's some real nice poetry in there. There are some good editorials. I think it's available online. I think trolleytimes.online is the website.
Okay.
You can go online, download this PDF, and you can read on your iPads, or you can print it out, or whatever you like reading it. But I will say, if you can, there are some editions available in English and Hindi as well. But all the editions are available in Punjabi. So I highly recommend anybody who is associated.
Well, I'll certainly be logging on to see. I can't read Hindi, but I'll certainly be looking for the English translations.
Okay.
So, but you just touched on there some of the amazing stuff that the protesters have actually achieved. I know that especially around Delhi and so on. I'm sure it's the same in on some of the other borders, but they've set up schools for the children and for not just for the children, but for everybody else. There's libraries being set up. There's health, hygiene. Also, there's a laundrette.
Yeah.
A barber's been opened up as well. All sorts of amazing things, which are actually helping the local economy in a sense. But it's not really helping the economy because everybody's volunteering. But the fact that the education is going on, right?
Yeah.
Not just basic education for children, but how to look after yourself while you're protesting to make sure you don't fall ill and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps as you were mentioning all those things, because those things have actually, again, as I said, when we were watching the whole thing pan out, these things moved us, that how, without much planning, how everybody has come together, how everybody is united irrespective of which state they come from, which language they speak, which religion they are from. We were seeing all these pictures of some Muslim brothers cooking langar there, some Haryanvi people and Sikhs serving langar to everybody. That whole thing that, because there's always narrative of that there's a divide in the society. But when you go at the ground level, you see people, we are all human beings and we connect with each other, and they have all come together, and it's for a good cause because it impacts a huge population. Haryana and Punjab, by politicians, it's in their interest to keep them separated and to show them as enemies. But look at the brotherhood that is on display there.
Absolutely.
As if they never had any divide. So, all those things. And then you touched upon the education side. So I read a report somewhere around 40 to 50,000 the slum dwellers.
Yes.
So they are being fed 3 times. They get all the meals all the time. The kids are getting the education. There are schools there. There are sports competitions being organized on daily basis. There is obviously the libraries there. And then from the daily needs perspective, there are laundries kind of thing. So they have washing machines. They have, nice toilet facilities wherever they can. It's still not ideal. I mean, to be very honest, it's not enough for the number of people. And plus, it's very unpredictable. Sometimes there will be too many people again because more people are continuously coming in. People have to queue up for toilets. So with the way we are living in luxury when compared to what people are actually going through there. And we really can't, I think it's very difficult for us to even imagine what they're going through.
Yeah.
And the other part is that lives are being lost, which nobody is talking about. The national media is not talking about. Nobody's talking about. Daily, 2 to 3 to 4, 5 people are dying. More than 150 deaths already.
It literally breaks my heart to think of, and I'm getting really emotional now, and I'm not going to apologize for it. It just breaks my heart that our elders, this is people in their 70s and 80s and some in their 90s who are frontline and are saying, give me my right to earn a living, give me my right to hang on to my land, give me my right to feed my family.
Exactly.
And they are dying on the front line. They are dying. And yet the government, in my opinion, is just ignoring their cries for help, is ignoring their pain.
Yeah,
it just destroys me because I think that, they're all my grandparents. Every single one out there is my grandparent. Every single one is my grandmother, my grandfather, my great-grandmother, my brother, my sister, my uncle, whoever. They're all a piece of me, and it just destroys me. Literally destroys me when I think about it.
Yeah, you don't need to apologize for being so honest with your emotions. And I think we go through this multiple times every day because we hear all these horrific stories. One of the stories which I heard a few weeks back, which moved me, was the death of an 18-year-old boy, uh,
Yeah.
which was a guy who was just doing voluntary seva there. He used to do, because he was it's the atmosphere is so nice that people want to do as much seva as they can because they can't see their elderly suffering.
Mhm.
So they're non-stop working, trying to do whatever they can to help them in looking after the cleanliness of the sites.
Mhm.
The toilets need to be cleaned and all those things. Water need to be provided, food needs to be cooked. There's so much that needs to be done. This guy was working non-stop every day, and then in the night when he used to sleep under a trolley on a mattress, and he was so shattered that he will get a good night's sleep because he was so tired.
Yeah.
But in one night when he was sleeping under the trolley after that day's of work, he was so tired he fell asleep, and it rained and the mattress got wet because he was under the trolley, so he was not covered from the sides.
Yeah.
The water came under the trolley, his mattress got wet, and it was so cold that his blood clotted on one side of his body, and he had a cardiac arrest and he died in his sleep. An 18-year-old boy. And that's I don't know how insensitive the government has to be not to even talk about this, not even talking about this. I haven't heard any statements come from the government side saying that we are sorry for this loss, and we understand. Look at the humanitarian loss. This it's very painful to watch it, and it's very painful, and it's almost impossible to go back and sleep in my bed for myself. So I'm going to keep on doing this, what I'm doing at the moment.
Well, that was going to be my next question. How long are you going to continue?
Till the protest last in India, till the farmers' rights, they get their rights where the laws are not repealed. We are in it for the long run. We're going to keep on supporting and keep on doing this, keep on raising awareness at our level, whatever we can.
Gurpreet, from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of my soul, I cannot thank you enough for everything that you are doing to raise awareness, because I know that news channels are coming to speak to you, and you are, doing your bit to highlight all of this, so.
I thank you so much to give me this opportunity to talk about this, to share what we are doing, and also nice to connect with you. As you said, we first time we met each other online on one of those calls, Inspired Tribe, and we just connected straight away. And what you are doing is amazing, and it's really nice to connect with you. And I think the way you have done this whole thing, this session is amazing, because I think the truth needs to come out. And I think the human side, we don't know. The politics is very complicated.
Exactly.
Not everybody understands what goes behind the scenes, but we can look at, and from the common man perspective, that they are already not in a good state, and that if the changes need to be made, then they are the weaker party, and its governments should be responsible for looking after the weaker party first. They should strengthen them, they should give them power, they should give them the right price and all those things if they want to make change. There is no harm in change. I think change is the only constant in life.
Absolutely.
It needs to happen. I know things need to move with time, but if you want to do it in a sustainable way, do it in a way which doesn't break down everything that already exists there. Don't break down the system. If you want to bring in something new, create the ground for it. Like a lot of these laws have talk about, okay, we'll create a template contract and all those things if required. Why was it not done before? Why were the farmers, poor farmers told, look, these are the minimum things you should look for if somebody does contract with you. This is what you have to look for. Why? First do the education, give them the tools. They are the ones who are the weaker party. Why will you go and implement it, then say, okay, if required, we will do it?
And for those of you who are watching, you think, well, it's in India, it's not impacting me. Just think about the farmers over here. If they weren't given a fair price, what's going to happen to them? What's going to happen to their livelihoods? What's going to happen to the food that's on your table? And to be fair, a lot of the food that is on our tables is not from the UK. It's from farming abroad. I've done my research.
Yeah.
It's from farms abroad. It's not from the UK. So if this is happening in India, it's going to happen elsewhere as well. This will spread. There are farmers in the UK who I've seen them on social media who are supporting the farmers in India.
Yeah.
Right. They're supporting them, and congratulations to them for saying, you know what, we're sticking with our farmer brothers and sisters abroad, because it could easily happen here.
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening actually, to be very honest, Manjeet. It's shocking to see, because you must have seen this news few years back, 5-6 years back, especially where whenever there is a downturn in the market and the supermarkets want to reduce the prices because there's a price war going on between them,
Yeah.
it's the farmer who is suffering.
Yes.
So the farmer's production cost remains the same. Whoever, whether it is milk producer, whether it is any crop, they have to invest the same amount of time. They have to invest in the seeds and all those things. Their cost remains same, but then supermarket, because they have the buying power, they go and tell them, look, because pricings are going down, we have to reduce the prices. We're going to buy only at this price. Overnight, they lose all that money.
Exactly.
It's happening here in UK, and it was in news. There's plenty of articles written about this, about farmers' plight here. So if that can happen here, think about it when this sort of system gets adopted in India, how difficult it will be. Here, the farmers are still educated. The government gives so much subsidy to the farmers. That's how they are surviving. In India, there is no such system. They haven't done any of those things. First, they should create the ground for this new type of system, which has not been done.
Yeah, it all comes from strong foundations. If the foundation's not strong, then the house is going to collapse at some point anyway. If the walls will actually be able to hold, if the foundation will actually be able to hold up any part of the house at all. So in this case, the answer is no. So Gurpreet, I'm going to leave it here because we could talk about this for hours. I know we could.
Yeah.
And we could never do it justice, the topic. We would never, ever do it justice. But again, thank you so much for what you're doing. And hopefully I'll be able to catch up with you soon, face to face, once COVID allows me to come to your tent, to come and talk to you.
We still have to do that half marathon together. So
yes, we have a half marathon planned at some point to do that together. That'd be really good. But thank you again for everything that you're doing. And for those viewers who are watching, if you want to follow Gurpreet, how can they follow you?
You can find me on Instagram, gurpreetsingh.london.
Okay, brilliant. So gurpreetsingh.london, find him on there and just give him your support. Drop a word every now and again, say, whatever it is, thank you. Or if you've got any questions, drop him a question. I know Gurpreet keeps a check on it and he will answer you. So, drop him a question, or if you need some advice about something or whatever it might be to do with the farmers, obviously. And then he'll more than happily respond back to you. If you want to DM him directly rather than put it on his Instagram page, Gurpreet's open to that as well. So that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for watching this quite emotional and emotive episode of Inspired By. I hope you have been inspired by Gurpreet Dinsa, just like I am. I think he's phenomenal for what he's doing. But keep watching, and please do share this with other people. Pass the word on as to, what Gurpreet is doing and why he's doing it. And Gurpreet, thank you for enlightening us about the Farmers' Bill and why they are protesting as much as they are. So we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mandeep, for giving the time to cover this topic. And I really appreciate what you're doing. And I wish you well for future. And hopefully when the restrictions are lifted, when it allows, I would love to meet you. And, our coffee is still due.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it will happen sooner than later. But again, in the meantime, stay healthy, stay happy, stay strong, and keep on supporting any good cause.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Bye-bye.